Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be continuing our journey into Act 6, covering all of the easiest paths. If multiple paths are an option in the quest, I will cover them all. Remember, these are just what I found easier, and your roster and experiences may vary. So let's dive in. Act 6, Chapter 3, Quest number 2, Overhang. Let's continue into 6.3 and see what this quest has to offer us. 6.3.2 continues the trend of Chapter 3 not having global nodes. As with 6.3.1, each path has its own nodes to deal with along the whole thing, but no local nodes this time. There is no need to break down all the paths here like last time, because we only have one properly good option. This is to go through Deadpool X-Force, and then Darkhawk onto the Caltrops and Bloodletting path. Any champion that is bleed immune, or highly resistant, such as Corvus Glaive, Thing, Nebula, King Groot, and so on, can 100% completely ignore these nodes. Caltrops places a bleed on you every time you dash backwards, and Bloodletting makes those bleeds last longer. If you take no bleed damage, or are immune to bleeds, these fights are essentially unnoded. Shrugging or cleansing champions are also a possible option here. We have our standard options of Kingpin, Jabari Panther, Crossbones, Shang-Chi, and so on. Don't overdo it though, as the debuff removal can be overwhelmed on some of these champions. Finally, we have champions that can take advantage of the bleeds. Once more, we have Ghost and Omega Red as our top options. Omega Red will struggle slightly with Darkhawk, as Darkhawk's a robot, but he'll be fine for the rest of the path. So now we just have a few annoying defenders to get through. The path starts with an unnoded Deadpool X-Force, then OG Captain Marvel. Nothing to them in particular, so on to the main path. Try not to knock down Darkhawk, and he won't trigger his auto-block stance, and stick to baiting his Special 1, as the Special 2 triggers his miss stance. Only hit Nightcrawler when he is stunned, and he will never evade you. Medusa has her auto-block, but we dealt with her in the last quest. And stick to Heimdall's Special 1, as his Special 2 cannot be dexed and will probably be unblockable. Last up on this path is MODOK. He doesn't have Caltrops on him, so you can bring any solid MODOK counter. Adam Warlock, Mags, Moleman, or Hulkling are some good options. If you don't have a good counter available for him, then you can use anyone. Just take note of when his autoblock is up, and hit him only when you are sure you'll be okay. Parry-heavy champions are good options here as well. The last champion on this path is Red Skull, and he's a sort of mini-boss. He isn't a true mini-boss, as only 2 paths go through him, but this is one of them. Since his recent buff, he is now quite a defensive threat, and will need to be careful. Let's start with his nodes, as they are not the same as the rest of the path so far. Aggression Armor will reduce the amount of damage he will take. Stay aggressive, and you can keep the stacks down relatively easily. Red Skull's abilities do revolve around armors, but they have to be armor up buffs, and Aggression Armor gives passives, so they don't interact. Vitality Rush will give whoever starts the fight with more health a Fury buff proportional to the health difference. For example, if he starts at full health, and you have 60% health, he will gain a 40% Fury buff. Not a major issue. His final node is Unblockable Specials, which does what it says on the tin. Avoid his Special 2, and you should be fine. Now to deal with Red Skull himself. His armor up buffs will give him more attack, crit, and energy resistance, and will reduce the chance for your stuns to work by 10% per armor up. In addition, you can't nullify, stagger, or fate seal these armors. Armor breaks only. If you hit Red Skull's block, he will consume 1 armor up to power drain you and deal you a burst of damage. Note that this is different to power burn. It is drain and then direct damage. Even champions that are immune to power drain will still take this damage. Looking at you, Galen. If you remove all of Red Skull's armors, he won't have any to consume and hence won't be able to drain you or deal any burst damage. His Special 1 will give him an auto-block passive for 3 seconds. Stick to the Special 1 and wait out the auto-block, and you should be fine. Any champion can do this fight, but powerful armor break champions, such as Corvus Glaive, Captain Marvel Movie, Null, Angela, and so on, will do best. There are two other options for paths you could take, but I wouldn't wholly recommend. Firstly is down to Punisher and through the Power Shield path. Your specials will do a lot of damage here, but your regular attacks won't do any. Also, your power is fully drained every 20 seconds. Champions with big special ones, or just good Power Shield counters, work well here. Apocalypse, Archangel, Longshot, or Kate Bishop are some solid options. There are also some annoying defenders on this path, such as Kingpin, Age of Venom, and Killmonger, so watch out for them. You will also pick up a boost from a different path that will help with this one later on, so no need to do it now, but I have seen people take it. You'll still have to deal with that Red Skull. The only other path you could take is through Green Goblin, and then down the Spider-Man based Evade path. Only do this path if you have a really solid set of evade counters, your Falcon, Mole Man and so on. But it is an option. You will also need a Bishop counter for the second unnoded fight, and the mini-boss, in quotes, you'll be dealing with here is Goldpool. He is much easier than Red Skull, but spiked armor will basically guarantee you'll take some annoying red damage, and Vigorous Assault will make him unblockable whenever he has a regen buff. And if this video is helping you at all, please confirm that like button's bleed immune. The boss in this quest is Nick Fury, and he is fully debuff immune. Stuns, damage over time, you name it, will not apply. He will also gain a burst of power every time you try and apply a debuff to him. But we can actually use this to our advantage. Let me explain. Most of Nick Fury's issues come from his tactical charges. Between 15 and 19 charges, he goes unblockable, and once he hits 20, they're all removed and he gains a massive Fury buff. This Fury buff also makes all new charges permanent, and he gains 2 at a time. Hitting Nick Fury will give him 1 charge, and his special 1 will give him 4 more. Using a mutant, though, means he only has a 25% chance to gain a charge this way when struck instead. Parrying him will remove 1 charge, but this is the only way we can remove them, and because we try and apply a stun here, he will gain a burst of power. So what does this have to do with him being debuff immune? Well, we can use those bursts of power to easily push him to a special 2. This means no extra charges from the special 1, and the special 2 is very easy to punish. Fewer special 1s, fewer charges, fewer charges, fewer issues. Looking at the other nodes on Nick Fury, we have Shank. If you hit Nick Fury's block, there's a 40% chance for a tiny bleed to be placed on you. However, if you're immune to bleeds, there's a 75% chance, or 25% chance if you're using a mutant, for Nick Fury to gain a tactical charge from the tactical adjustment node. Don't forget about Nick Fury's second life either. There won't be that much difference here, but he will have a permanent Fury buff, so watch out for the damage increase and the extra charges. Anyone can do this fight, but mutants are our best option. They ideally shouldn't be bleed immune, but resistant is nice, but not required. Watch out for champions that have large numbers of debuffs, as the last thing you want to be doing is eating a special 3. Bishop, Danny Moonstar, Havoc, though watch your plasma, Kitty Pryde, Namor, OG Storm and so on should all work just fine. Namor does apply bleeds, but this is only on his medium attacks, so if you're concerned about Nick Fury's power, you can always do a light ending combo instead. So who's best on our ideal team? Well, we need a boss counter, a Red Skull counter, and some bleed immunes. I will actually be building out 2 teams here. The first is my actual ideal team. This consists of Corvus Glaive, Ghost, and Omega Red as our main clearers, Awakened Danny Moonstar for the boss, and lastly either Wasp for the Ghost synergy, or Sabretooth for the Omega Red synergy. If you don't feel like you need or want these synergies, then backup for the boss such as Bishop would also be a good choice. Let's have a look at why I have chosen this team. Firstly, Ghost and Omega Red do very well on the bleed path, and Corvus is pseudo bleed immune. We can gain a Corvus charge for him versus Deadpool X-Force right at the start, and pick up the tech and auto-block charges from Darkhawk. We can then use our main clearers or boss backup to get Nick Fury down to just a few %, and then quit out of the fight. We can then use Awakened Danny Moonstar to clear up as she ignores Nick Fury's second life, making this much easier and quicker to deal with. So why a second team? Well, you have seen teams similar to this before in other videos, and there isn't much to be gained from watching the same thing again and again. If you want to see what Ghost and Omega Red can do on a bleed path, just go watch the 631 video, where I take them on a biohazard path, which is fairly similar. This team will run through this quest very easily if you know what you're doing. I'll put up some clips so you can see what I mean, but Ghost on this sort of node just slaps really hard, and you don't need to play Ghost to any crazy level. Even just this in and out gameplay, with nothing fancy, is more than enough to trivialise this fight. I apologise for using my big Corvus here, but I don't have the 5-star and appropriate rank. Either way, you can see he takes no bleed damage, and he hits really hard. His parries will also strip all the armours off Red Skull with his armour breaks, so nothing to worry about there either. Let's build out a second team using some other champions that you may have in your roster that will still work absolutely fine, and this is the team I'll use in the follow-up. We will still follow exactly the same process though, and try to do this with your own roster if you're struggling to put a team together. We need a boss counter, a Red Skull counter, and some bleed immune champs. For the boss, I'll be bringing OG Storm. She doesn't have that many extra debuffs, so will work nicely for baiting heavies, and reparrying to push him to the special 2. For Red Skull, I think Cosmic Ghost Rider would do very well. Lots of armor breaks, and the awakened ability Damnation will remove his armor up buffs, where Fate Seals will not. Damnation is treated as a separate effect. He's also bleed immune if we need him for the path. Now we have just 3 slots for other bleed immunes. Red Magneto will be nice for Darkhawk, MODOK, and backup on Red Skull. Colossus and his parry-heavy playstyle is perfect for some of our remaining matchups. And for our last slot, it really depends what you want. Omega Red has a very nice synergy with Colossus that you could bring that and a lower-ranked version of Omega Red even if you have no intention of using him. Even a 2-star Omega Red has this synergy. You could bring White Magneto and use his pre-fight on the boss to allow OG Storm to parry stun him because they will become passives. Or you could just bring another bleed immune. Black Widow Clairvoyant in her bleed stance will be great for Medusa and Heimdall, so she would work very nicely as well. Fairly soon after this video goes out, I will try and get up a short commentated video of me going through the path I suggest above with the exact team I suggest. I will be bringing the second team. It will be much more relaxed and less scripted than this video, but should hopefully give some more insight into how I look at getting around these issues. I will also answer popular questions from the comments in that video, so please leave yours down below. As always, remember that this is story content, so it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. If you get stuck here and find yourself spending lots of resources, stop and focus on something else. The monthly event quest and side quests are a great place to pick up more materials, shards and units, as are battlegrounds, when they're back, and the arena. So that's it. Everything you need to know to clear 6.3.2. Up next, we'll be looking at 6.6.3, Wolverine Weapon X, and I do have a full progression guide in the works as well, i.e. what should I do when I've done this. Let me know if there's anything else that you would like to see, and we can certainly have a look at it in the future. I also have a Discord server, so please go join that. It's a great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and I do my best to be there as much as possible. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below, and please do all the YouTube stuff. Thank you, and I will see you next time.